Hi there, my name is Suze and I work with women to help them find balance between their internal masculine and feminine energies so that they can have lives that feel really emotionally fulfilling, full of love and connection. So today we're going to talk about 3 steps to become a better communicator. Now I want to clarify on the communication. 3 steps to become a better communicator. I'm on a theme this week with my videos. You may have noticed I talk about anxiety. And so I want to specifically zero in on the idea of being a better communicator from a non-anxious space. And I want to be very specific about that. I've talked about communication before previously on this channel. I don't exactly remember all the things I said about it. And communication is one of the biggest things that comes up with clients that I work with, of constantly coming back to communication and can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And so I want to give 3 little things to help us all become better communicators. And again, from a space of non-anxious communication. I've been doing a lot of videos on anxiety. I am going to put a playlist out there about this because I want to keep all of this conversation around anxiety in one place, because I'm seeing how powerfully impactful this idea of anxiety and anxious attachment is affecting everyone. And this does go back to emotional neglect in childhood. This does go back to the mother wound. This completely goes back to lack of emotional stability in childhood due to parents not having the resources or the support or the knowledge or the help that they needed to be able to be more emotionally available to you as a child. So 3 steps. Number 1 is to use I statements. I can't say this enough, particularly if you are a feminine communication. It's all about the I statements. And there's many different reasons for it. I'm just going to give you a few. There's many different reasons. We don't say I enough. And too often our communication is you this or you that. But the biggest problem with the you is that it's more often than not can trigger the other person into a state of feeling attacked, feeling blamed, feeling judged, feeling not heard, feeling misunderstood, because you're pointing the finger out at someone else. And what someone else is doing is their business. And you are allowing yourself to feel a particular way from what someone else is doing. So you need to take responsibility for yourself. Not only does using I statements clearly take responsibility for what you're feeling or what you're doing, it's taking responsibility, but it's also creating an energetic pathway that is really powerful to bring 2 people together or to create boundaries. But in this case, I'm thinking more of a connection kind of a communication. So using I statements is you're declaring where you're at, right? And I've said this many times before. If you or someone else, doesn't matter, if you're in a dynamic and you don't know where you are, how can you know where you're going? Or if you're in communication with someone, if they don't know where you are, if they don't know what you're feeling or what you're thinking or what you're struggling with, if they don't know, they can't help bridge the gap either. They can't truly and effectively help you out either, right? It goes both ways. So we have to use more I statements. It really makes a lot more clarity. So then there is less confusion on the other end too, and confusion clearly creates anxiety. If you're confused and unclear about what someone's trying to say or where they're at or what they're thinking, that's instantly going to get a frantic kind of response, anxiety type response inside of you about, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, oh no, bad's going to happen, conflict, oh no. And now here we go. So the first step is always use more I statements. Number 2, listen better through the power of questions. listen better through the power of questions. I love asking questions, and questions are extremely connecting. Questions are so helpful to a feminine because they're an invitation. Think of it this way. When you're asking a question as a feminine, you are inviting someone to come in and closer to you. You are inviting someone to get intimate with you. You are inviting someone to share what's happening on their end with you. You're asking for someone else to collaborate with you, to compromise with you. You're asking someone to sit down at the proverbial table, put all your cards out on the table, both parties, and find a solution that works for both of you. And if we're asking questions, we're therefore not assuming. And that right there is like super powerful, because too often in communication, what you're hearing and then translating in your head, you're translating it from the filter of your life experiences, which may be bad and may be actually very wounded and trauma filled. And you're using that to translate in your head what you think this person is saying, when they could actually be saying or intending something completely different, and you don't know until you ask and stop assuming. So the more questions you ask for more and more clarity, the more intimacy you're building, the more vulnerability you're building, and the more clarity you're going to have. And again, if we have clarity, we're not going to have the anxiety, because the anxiety only comes in from misunderstanding, lack of clarity, assumption, and internal mental or emotional chaos. So if we're asking questions and participating in a conversation in that way, you're going to listen better. It's not about listening to respond, right? When I was going through yoga teacher training, we did this whole segment on communication, and it was like incredible. It was incredible. I had never looked at communication in the way that it had been presented in yoga teacher training. And it was really emphasized the fact how most people, when they're in a conversation with someone, they're just listening to then respond right back. And that's not actually hearing or listening to someone. That's not actually holding space to really be with someone and create meaningful connection with someone. Listening and hearing someone is putting your own agendas aside and really listening even between the lines of what their heart is saying. This takes a deeply intuitive feminine woman to be able to sit down and extract things from what's not being said. But that is also a very powerful communicator, because it's less about my reaction and more about how can I understand the entirety of this situation so that we can find common ground, we can find a common value and move towards that together. That is powerful communication, you know? And then number 3, the power of the pause. The power of the pause. This takes a very mentally and emotionally strong person to be able to communicate or ask a question and then wait. And I think that women don't fully understand how helpful and supportive and impactful it can be when you're sitting down with a masculine and you're in your heart and you are humble and you are open-hearted and you are really trying to work through something with your masculine and you want to create more harmony and you're really desiring to work through something and have both sides of the story really heard and validated and collaborate together. If you ask a man a question, wait. The mental process that a man goes through to answer a question is different than the process that a feminine goes through when she is asked a question. And the feminine is able to extract and speak and answer a lot more rapidly than a masculine will be able to. And so we create unknowingly, feminines create confusion in speaking with masculines. We create confusion, which again, what did we say? Confusion creates anxiety. And anxiety, and I'm generalizing, but anxiety will then create avoidance with a lot of masculines, right? Like it's like they'll go into the avoidant end of it of like, oh no, run, right? The avoidance. And that's clearly not what the feminine heart desires, because the feminine connection is wanting more connectedness, more togetherness. She does not want avoidance. So in having communication and asking a question, let him fully answer. And even the first answer out of his mouth may not be the complete answer. Give it a moment to let it all come out. It might actually surprise you, and this has been my own personal experience. If you learn to slow down and let him really fully open his heart and speak what he thinks about something or how he feels about something, it may surprise you how much will come out if you give it the space to come out and be seen and be heard. It's really beautiful. But too often we rush it because we're just trying to get an answer to satisfy some anxiety that we're dealing with, some franticness around, I need validation, or I need reassurance, or I need to know everything's okay because I'm freaking out inside. And we rush. And in rushing the answer back, I just saw 11:11 on the clock. In rushing the answer back, we miss out on some really beautiful gems that are residing in the heart of the masculine that he doesn't feel safe to share because he was rushed and there wasn't enough space for him to open up and let it be seen and heard. There's so much power in the pause. Not only that, but in the pausing, you're giving yourself a breath. Maybe if you hear something that might be a little jarring to you or might be a little bit hard to hear, maybe you need some space to recenter and reground, reopen your heart, listen to what is really being said, so that again, there can be collaboration, there can be harmony, there can be unity. This is really powerful. So to recap, the 3 steps to become a better communicator from a non-anxious standpoint. Number 1, use more I statements. Number 2, listen better through asking questions. And number 3, use the power of the pause. I hope this video helped. If you found value, please do subscribe to show your support for my channel and my message. Help me send my message out there to more and more people. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here and listening to my message. I'm sending so much love to you all. Have a beautiful day.